Welcome to the reintroduction of the Abo Killer YouTube channel. Now, this will be officially the third video, but because of some technical difficulties, what have you, the other video that was posted for this channel, well, it was two videos. One was removed, so I basically just went ahead and removed the other one, which I don't even know why YouTube flagged it. It was just an introduction to the channel. So basically, let me explain to people what an abo is. An abo is basically people or a person or people, a group of people, the Aboriginal movement, or the Black Aboriginal movement, or we was indigenous to America, whatever, blah blah blah. This movement has gained a lot of momentum within the past couple of years. Me personally, I started noticing a rise in it about last year, 2018, with Dane Calloway and his nonsense. That's what it is. And it's been around for a while. You can probably go back as far as 70s maybe, with Ivan Van Sertima's they came before Columbus. But most black families have this thing where they say, oh, my grandma or my great grandma, she was Cherokee or Blackfoot. They always say Cherokee or Blackfoot. No other tribe is mentioned. Some say Chickasaw every now and then, some say Choctaw every now and then, but you never really hear anything other than Cherokee and Blackfoot. That's what most people say. They're gonna say, my family, like my dad, I remember him saying that his grandfather was a Blackfoot, and even my mom, she would say, well, they had Cherokee in their family, I had Cherokee, whatever. So, but yeah, back to Ivan Van Sertima. So, Ivan Van Sertima is accredited as a scholar, as the man who did research and basically came up with this African presence in America pseudo nonsense. People think he actually went out and did field work and research, and he proved that the Olmecs, because of the Olmec heads having a broad nose and thick lips, that they had to be African. Which, if you do proper research, you will find out that this is not even true at all, in the least bit, because broad noses and thick lips are not indigenous to Africans or black people alone. It's just not true. And I love to use the argument a lot of times to people that, because of your geographical location, if you are, the closer to the equator you are, in order to breathe in that hot air and to retain moisture in your body, you have to have a broad nose and thicker lips to retain moisture and to breathe the air. Now, when you move to the colder climates, people tend to have a thinner nose and thinner lips. That's just the way it is. Like, we can look at Arabs, we can look at Tainos or Mexicans, Hispanics. We can look at Europeans. When you look at these people, and Africa is very diverse. Africans, not all Africans have thick lips, and they don't have a broad nose. Like, when you look at East Africans, like Ethiopians, a lot of them have thinner noses because of the Arab influence. The farther south you go, or like the Congo and stuff, they tend to have darker skin, thicker lips, and even South Africans. You go towards West Africa, West Africans share more of a similarity with African Americans. For lack of a better term, I'm going to use African Americans or Africans in America. whatever you want to call it. I like to use African descendants in America, but some people like African Americans. Some people like, whatever they like. That's on them. The similarities are staggering. Like, you just can't deny it. And for people to try to deny the fact that black people came from Africa is total nonsense. Total nonsense. Like, I don't even get it. Like, why would you want to deny being African? Well, a lot of people remember, toward the mid 2000s, let's say 2014, 2015, there was a rise in what we know as the RBG movement or the comedic movement. It was a rise in that, and a lot of people were doing, Black Power. I was in the comedics real hard around this time, and I had been studying comedics for a couple of years when I right before this popularity, it grew, and I was, everybody was wearing unks and African, red, black, and green, and Marcus Garvey, and this whole thing, it was, everybody was into it. Then not too long after that, now, everybody was claiming, African spirituality, people wanting to be witches and practice voodoo and hoodoo and doing all this. It was a rise in that. So now, fast forward to about 2017, 2018, everybody's jumping. It's just a trend with people. There's always, in the black community, there's always trends. Whether it be Jordans, Yeezys, True Religion clothes and jeans, like going back to FUBU and Carl Canal. Like, there's always trends. And you go back to the late 80s and early 90s, everybody was wearing African medallions and native tongue, and everybody was proud to be black, even going back to the 60s, so it's just like every so many years these things come around. Well, you got a lot of groups out there right now that are claiming that they are the original Native Americans, that black people were here already and slavery happened in reverse, which is total nonsense. Think about it. You got Africa here, and you got like Spain and Portugal, these places like right over here, and you got Europe over here. So people are saying, oh, well, Europeans left Europe, they went into America, enslaved indigenous people, natives, whatever, and brought them to Africa and made them slaves in Africa. Now, see, the problem with that is it just don't even make sense. Like, the logic behind it is just so stupid. It just like it don't make sense. Okay, first of all, we know that Europeans, well, the slave trade in Africa started with Arabs first. They were the first to enslave Africans. Then, the Portuguese and the Spaniards got in, Cause like Arabs went to like Spain, the more Arabs. They were Arabs. And they went to Spain. They ruled Spain for like hundreds of years. And then when they went, they brought with them their servants or their slaves. Africans, who they castrated, by the way. They used them as like guards and servants or whatever. And when the Spaniards saw this, they were just impressed at how, the physique of these Africans and the things they could do and how loyal they were to their masters. Like, they wanted a piece of the pie, especially after the Portuguese had been doing it. Two Portuguese brothers, I can't think of their names right now. Look it up. Two Portuguese brothers started going to Africa and capturing like a couple slaves here and there and selling them or whatever. So they're going to Africa, they're capturing these slaves, and they're using these Moors, these servants, because they know the land, they know the area. Europeans didn't know, Africa was too harsh for them. After North Africa was a little more to their liking. You know, it's closer to the Mediterranean, so it's a little more to the liking. Now, they go on further into Central Africa, they don't know this terrain. All these jungles and the terrain was just too much for their body. They couldn't endure that shit. So they used these Moor servants to go capture slaves, bring them back, and then they would take them to Spain, Portugal. You know, the Dutch, they got into it too. So, well, basically the reason why the whole reason Christopher Columbus even set sail was, you know, well, hey, these Moors, they're navigators. Let's use them. You know, that he's hearing these stories about this land, this new world or whatever over there, and he wants to find out about it. Well, the Moors only know about this shit because they travel with their masters. You know, on the oceans and the waters and shit. So, make a long story short, Christopher Columbus' whole expedition was about finding new slaves. That's what the whole purpose of him going, trying to find he thought was India. That was his whole purpose. Because he actually was trying to find India. So he made a mistake and ended up in South America somewhere. What we now know as Dominican Republic. It used to be called Hispaniola. Hispaniola was the name of it. But they changed the name up to the Dominican Republic. So, you know, he gets there, you know, he coming and you know, he's bringing disease and all this madness with him. So, and they don't even tell you how his own people basically went and captured Columbus and brought him back and made him a prisoner for the shit he was doing over there. They don't tell you nothing about that. If you look it up though, you can see, you'll find it. I read about it in National Geographic some years ago, like maybe the early 90s, late 80s. I think it was the early 90s. It was in a magazine. It was a whole magazine of National Geographic published in the early 90s about it. Might have been mid 90s. So, anyway, yeah. So that was his mission. That was his purpose. That was his whole mission and purpose. And he kept writing back saying how the natives of that land wouldn't make good slaves. They get sick. They lazy. You know, they just kept, you know, escaping or whatever. And they knew the land. So, here's an idea. Let's take these Africans we've been enslaving for all these years and take them over there. They don't know the land. So they can't escape. They don't know the land. You know, they won't be trying to escape and all that and what have you. Where they gonna go? Where they gonna hide? You know, if they do, they gonna die. So that was their whole purpose. Like I said, it just wouldn't have made sense for them to just skip Africa and go to America and bring slaves back. Like, Africa's right there. You know, it doesn't make sense. Anybody that thinks that, you are insane. You are delusional. You need help. So, back to Ivan Van Sertima. I got off topic. Back to Ivan Van Sertima. Van Sertima, basically, his whole book was nothing but a bunch of nonsense. He quoted a lot of things from Leo Weiner's book, The African Presence in America, or whatever. I think that was the title. I might be wrong. But Leo Weiner. Then he quoted a lot of things from a book called Myths of pre-Columbian America or something like that. I can't think of the name of the book right now, but he quoted a lot of stuff from that book, and the key word is myth, like myth. There was a lot of it was a mythological book. And Van Sertima quoted that book in his They Came Before Columbus book. And he quoted a lot of things from Leo Weiner. Leo Weiner's book came out in like the 1920s or 30s, so that information was way outdated by the time Van Sertima quoted it. So what do you think it is now? It was never peer reviewed by his peers. He was a laughingstock. Even Dr. Clark, John Henry Clark, questioned Van Sertima's information. I'm not sure if Dr. Ben did, but I know for a fact John Henry Clark questioned a lot of Van Sertima's info. So here you have people, they like to use Ivan Van Sertima's, they came in for Columbus, as proof that the Olmecs were Africans or blacks, and that, as proof that black people were here before slavery. Not true. Not true at all. A lot of people like to say that they have paperwork. I got paperwork proving that my grandma was Cherokee, or she was a member of Native, that her father or mother or her grandparents were Choctaw, or they were Cherokee. Well, y'all know that the Cherokees owned slaves, right? Well, Cherokees owned like 4,000 African slaves at one point. 4,000 slaves belonged to the Cherokee, and they did not want to let them go. Why? Because, the Cherokee were one of the 5 civilized tribes. They basically took on the colonized mind of Europeans. They supposedly were civilized, and they did exactly what they saw Europeans do. That's how they were taught. They were taught to do exactly what Europeans were doing. So a lot of people that say they got paperwork that their grandparents or great-grandparents were Cherokee or whatever, what have you, that's the paperwork that they have. Basically, they were saying that they were property of the Cherokee Nation. Now, another thing is that people don't seem to realize, or they just don't talk about, is that a lot of slaves ran away and hid or sought refuge in these native tribes. They were allowed to stay with the tribes, marry with the tribes, and live their life among the tribes. They had offspring with natives. They were African slaves. They had offspring with natives. They were married, they lived their life among the tribes, and they had paperwork saying that they were members of the tribe to protect them from their slave owners. So when the slave owners came looking for them and say, hey, that's my slave, oh, where's your paperwork at? Oh, no, he's a member of this tribe. So people don't talk about that either. They don't talk about that. They don't want to recognize that. And a lot of these pictures that these abos post, they'll post pictures of what looks like a black native, and it's really just the offspring of an African slave and a Native American tribe member. That's what it is. They Photoshop. They have no scholarship. And most natives, not natives, most abos, they're real childish, child-minded. They talk, they want to slander you and call you names and all this stuff when they got their back up against the wall. That's what they do, because they don't have no scholarship. They never can prove. There's no proof. And then they'll say, well, show me. This was the oldest fossil or oldest skull found, and blah blah blah. And they'll try to say that it was a black skeletal remains. It was black skeletal remains or African skeletal remains. It's just not true. It's not true at all. You cannot show anyone skeletal remains of an African in America that's more than 500 years old. You cannot do it. You won't do it. The skeletal remains that they're finding in America that are thousands of years old, 9,000 years old, 8,000 years old, 13,000 years old, they are not African. Stop it. Just stop it. Y'all are embarrassing yourself. When you are able to, and you will not be able to, show me a skull or skeletal remains of an African in America that is more than 500 years old, then I'll shut up. But you ain't gonna be able to do it. You won't be able to do it. They found fossils in Africa hundreds of thousands of years old, tens of thousands of years old. They ain't found no African fossils in America. There's no proof, no type of artifacts of anything of Africans being here prior to slavery. There's none. And the ones that y'all want to claim are African aren't African. They're not. Pseudo information is not going down. We're not allowing it. So I've started a new group fan page. Abo Killer Squad fan page was forced to be unpublished because these same haters, these abos, these people have went in there and they was reporting stuff, falsely reporting things and giving bad reviews and all this stuff. So I was forced to unpublish it. So the new fan page is called Abos Exposed on Facebook. You can find it. I have yet to determine whether or not there's going to be an IG page. I don't know. I have my hands tied right now just dealing with the Facebook. So I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. But like I said, this is the reintroduction to the Abo Killer YouTube channel. Our platform is going to be info. And before I go, I want to say one more thing. A lot of you folks that look like me, light skinned, when people say we got good hair or whatever, well, we all got good hair. As long as you got hair, it's good, right? Are claiming that you are indigenous, you are aboriginal, you're indigenous. Stop it. Stop it right now, because we can look at you and tell that you. Now, anybody can look at me and tell that both of my parents are not all African. Anybody can. And I don't hide who I am. My father's black, my mother's Caucasian. I don't hide who I am. You know, I'm for my people all day. When I say my people, I'm talking about people of truth. People that know the truth. I don't sympathize with white people. I just don't. I don't. I was never around them. I don't have nothing to do with them at all. So y'all need to stop. You a mulatto, just like me. Stop trying to act like your ass is a damn native and wearing wigs and shit. You know who I'm talking about. I ain't gonna call no name. Y'all need to stop. Anyway, Abo Killer Squad. We coming for all of you fake Abo frauds. We coming for y'all, man. Your time is up. We would use info on top of info on top of info to debunk you. You are not going to keep getting away with your little memes and your little Photoshop pics and your false twisted information. It's not going to happen. Your time is up. Because real soon, y'all will find another trend. And next y'all, I already seen what some of them be talking about. They reptile people. When I was a Muslim, we told those stories about Yaqub, the big head scientist that Elijah Muhammad made up, and all that stuff. The reptile people were Caucasians. The Europeans was the reptile people. Now I'm saying black people saying they the reptile people. Man, y'all a trip, man. Y'all need to stop with this pseudo mess, man. I'm telling you. I don't know. It's gonna be funny to see what the next show. Oh yeah, let me say this real quick too. David Imhotep is not a scholar, man. He's not a scholar. Stop listening to David Imhotep. David Imhotep said we was on Mars and we built pyramids. And y'all believe? I mean, David Imhotep. Come on. The dude calls himself David Imhotep. Come on now. And I've seen some of y'all, you're changing your names up too. Booker T, change your name up. Now you going by some type of little fake native name you done made up. I'm waiting on Cyrus Sutton City to change his name. He probably gonna change his name to the Cyrus Sutton Cherokee or something. Y'all a trip, man. Y'all follow these trends, man. Y'all do anything to try to stay relevant and gain these followers and keep your little pages and stuff open and people to subscribe to you and view you all the time. Y'all the trip. I'm not doing none of that. This is me. This is who I've been for the past 42 years. I'm not gonna change. Anyway, Abo Killer Squad. No, I'm sorry. Abo's Exposed is the new fan page name. You can find it on Facebook. For now, that's all.